I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you would all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which is one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Council, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda, or if you have any amendments, raise them now. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. This is the opportunity for the public to make a comment on any item on the agenda. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to make a comment on anything in the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move to the next item, which is the approval of the minutes of the December 19th, 2024 Town Council meeting. Council members, you've got that in your packet. Is there a motion for approval? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. And next, the approval of the minutes of the January 9th, 2025 Emergency Town Council meeting. Is there a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
We have,
We got this.
we got multiple motions, multiple seconds. We're ready to go. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Approval of, is there a motion for the approval of the minutes of the January 9th Town Council work session? Thank you.
I'm a gentleman. I'll second.
Okay, all in
Aye.
favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Next, we have the town administrator's report.
So the report has been included in this agenda. The one thing that I want to add of note is that regarding Capital Connections, thank you to everyone who's reached out to provide information regarding their individual case. We'll be reviewing them on a case-by-case basis. And we're hoping to be able to resolve it within the 90 days. But I want to acknowledge that some people's cases will be resolved much sooner. So if you have any questions, if you have just anything you want to reach out, please send me an email and we'll work together. I'm very responsive and committed to getting this resolved. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to take those questions.
Is there anything else on your report that you wish to bring to the public's attention?
Well, the only other thing was there was a question about the PIA reviews the last time. And I was able to go in and pull reports from our system that collects those submissions. There were 22 submissions, but they only represented 7 reports. And I was able to confirm with our town clerk that each of those requests have been responded to, although some of them are still open for resolution. And so I'm working alongside, well, depends on the case, but I'm working on resolving that as soon as possible as well.
Thank you. All right, next we have the town treasurer's report, but the town treasurer is still on maternity leave, so I don't believe we have a report for tonight. Public Works report, Mr. Barry. What's new and exciting in Public Works?
Snow. I did want to take this opportunity to stress next week we're going to have some substantial sustained cold weather, and I'll guarantee you I will walk into someone's apartment townhouse with frozen fire suppression. It'll be flooded. It happens almost every time, especially Seagate. So I was going to say to the HOAs, the Richfield Station, if you yourself live in a townhouse adjacent to an abandoned townhouse, possibly the bank owns, they like to leave the heat on minimal. It will not sustain this cold front that's coming. The first thing that freezes is top floor fire suppression because it's in the attic. So if you know no one's in the house next to you, now's the time to check, make sure the heat's on and everything, because obviously when that unit floods, like at Seagate, it floods the 2 units beside it. So be proactive. If you know you don't have a neighbor, it's been empty for a while, investigate. And obviously call the town first thing because there's going to be no one to shut it off. And just be aware of these things. Even frost-free hose bibs are going to freeze during this cold front. You know, we have over 72 hours of below 32 degrees. So something's going to give. Just keep that in mind. Be proactive. It's a lot less expensive than reactive.
Great. I also want to comment that in the recent snowstorm, I had the opportunity to ride a snowplow in the town. And that I haven't done that in almost a decade. And it was, it's eye-opening. And also it makes me realize how much bigger the town was than it was 10 years ago. So it's an interesting thing to see. But the most enjoyable part of that was when we were down in Chesapeake Village and the hill on the left side of the road as you're going into the subdivision. And you know what I'm talking about. And the kids were out there having a blast coming down that hill. And I shot a little bit of video with my cell phone. It was really fun to watch that. So it's nice to see that sort of thing happens. And it was safe the way they were doing it too, because they come to a flat down at the bottom and don't hit the street. So it was really very cool to see. So it's a neat amenity within the town. Well, it's shoveling other stuff, but not snow.
Jay, may I ask a quick question?
Yeah, absolutely.
For folks that you're talking about, what degrees would be best for them to keep their homes at?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
During these events, most thermostats only go down to about 55 or 60 anyway on the heat side of it. In these events, I'd have it like you live there in the 70s. Just in exterior walls in the 50s, a 30-degree temperature change is going to be easy. Most townhouses in this neighborhood or in this town have fire suppression, which is in the attic, which everyone knows your attic's already colder than your living space.
Right.
So during this event, if I had the choice, I would have it like you're living there in the 70s.
Okay.
And that should take care through after this passes. You can go back to whatever it was. And if no one's in the house and it's sustained like that, I know we work with the banks and foreclosures and we suggest you schedule and the town shuts off your water. But there's also a risk associated with that because you have fire suppression. So I know it's a double-edged sword. Some insurance companies where the bank tanks it over make sure it's on. Others make sure it's off. I'm just trying to look out for the citizen of the town. If you know the apartment next to you is empty, I would check on it now.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
That's something we can put in the e-bless.
Yeah.
Just as a reminder.
Yeah, we were planning on getting something out tomorrow.
Great. Yes, please.
We're going to do a tour eventually and you're going to get to see one. Bring your boots. Real quick, basically all sewage from this town, if you're on the sewer system, goes to the treatment plant. Some by gravity. You think of a sewer, it's just like a water slide. If it can get there by gravity or higher in elevation, it goes there by gravity. All other neighborhoods, the Heritage, Richfield Station, Chesapeake Village, Bayview Hills, it gravities to a wet well normally located at the beginning of the neighborhood because you can go downhill from your residence to that in the ground wet well. From there, it's mechanically pumped to the treatment plant. So the town owns and maintains 13 sewer wet wells. Sure.
Anything else for Jay? Great. Thank you, Jay. Water reclamation treatment plant report, Josh, is that it?
Yes, sir. Well, staff completed all the regular scheduled preventive maintenance checks and services as we have scheduled through our asset management program. We had a power issue on the 30th, where it was a major power flicker. I think it was a power outage on the south end of town. Caused a little bit of an issue with a couple of components throughout the plant. We worked through and solved all the issues with those, and everything's back up in service like it should be. We just completed the HVAC project for the some of our external control panels. They have HVAC units because they're outside and have sensitive components. A lot of those need to be replaced because they had just failed after a number of years. That project was approved in October of last year, October 22nd council meeting. It was completed on the 9th at a cost of $92,385.32, which was budgeted for $110,000. It was a replacement of 3 panel units and 1 split system. When we did the walkthrough on the 9th, we had 1 punch list just for 2 anchor bolts on the outside unit on the split system, and that was able to be resolved on the 10th. So that contract is completed, and invoices have been already sent out. One thing I do want to note that was not in the memo that I provided, because I didn't have the data at the time. Following the completion of the tabulation of the laboratory data for nutrients discharge for 2024, it has been identified that the plant should be qualified for a 4th consecutive year of the Bay Restoration Fund annual O&M grant for wastewater treatment plants. MDE disseminates these awards based on each wastewater facility's ability to achieve enhanced nutrient removal performance levels of 3.0 milligrams per liter for total nitrogen and 0.3 milligrams per liter for total phosphorus and wastewater effluent concentrations. Grant payments are based on the plant's design capacity at the time of the ENR upgrade, with the base grant amount being $30,000 per 1 million gallons per day of flow, up to a total of 10 million gallons per day. The plant's design capacity is 1.5 million gallons per day, which equates to a base grant expected of $45,000. The plant's 2024 annual average discharge concentrations for total nitrogen was 1.34 milligrams per liter and 0.12 milligrams per liter for total phosphorus. This equates to only 2,587 pounds of nitrogen and 203 pounds of phosphorus from a total annual discharge flow from the plant of effluent of 256.634 million gallons. This is an improvement over the 3,511 pounds at 1.34 milligrams per liter of total nitrogen and 227 pounds at 0.12 milligrams per liter of total phosphorus for the total discharge flow of 235 million gallons in 2023. The plant should qualify for additional funding as a result of the outperformance of the 3 milligram per liter goal for total nitrogen. The additional grant funding for outperformance for total nitrogen is calculated based on the total remaining O&M grant funds after total base grant funds have been awarded. The total additional reduction from all wastewater treatment plants in the state is then used to calculate the cost per pound of nitrogen reduction. There is no additional funding provided for outperformance for total phosphorus. Last year's grant we received was $61,096, and that's used to offset the O&M costs for the plant for all partners.
That's really good. Thank you, Jess. Yeah, Mr. Reinhardt.
Josh, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. I have a few questions for you. I think we're all kind of interested in the rates and what they need to be, and some of the research into that issue would be to kind of see what the budget was last year, or what I'm sure you submitted a budget request last year during the budget process.
Yes, sir.
Could we get a copy of that?
For the 2000 or for the
Well,
FY25
I'm not asking you to do the upcoming budget early, just a
Right.
copy of the one that was submitted last
from
year.
FY25.
Yeah.
I can look about getting that to you.
Okay. I'm assuming we probably all want a copy of that.
Yeah, that would make sense if you would just send it to the entire council and myself.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then, and maybe if you can maybe make some comments, if you know of any potential changes that you may be making for this coming budget cycle, if you just make some comments on it, if there's anything that you already know of. And then next question, are we working on a plant tour? Do we have any movement on that?
I've been waiting for communication back for dates requested.
Okay. Oh, okay. And then my last question is, I just wanted to know, as far as the chemical additives at the plant, are we fluoridating the water?
No, we are not.
Okay.
The only chemicals that we add for our process control is polyaluminum chloride for phosphorus removal and methanol for an additional carbon source for our nitrate removal.
Okay. That's all I have. Thanks.
Hey, Josh, I got two questions. First, in addition to last year's budget, do you also have a breakdown of like what the plant's actual operating costs are for you to operate on like a day? Like what does it cost us to manage that facility a day? Like,
I would have to actually calculate that out for you. I don't have that readily available off the top of my head, no.
is that an easy ask or is that a painful ask?
I could look into it.
Okay, thank you. And then the second question ties back to your future projects with the inventory of spare parts. Are you looking to leverage a space that's currently available at the facility, or are you looking to like build something new? And then, do you already have the funding for the spare parts?
The funding for spare parts is built into the capital projects line item. And we already have locations in the plant where we can put those spare parts. It's just a matter of getting the stuff ordered, put it in there. We've already cleared out some stuff that was obsolete that had been held on to for quite some time. So it's just a matter of building that inventory up as we go.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Josh,
Yes, ma'am.
I just have one question. I noticed on your report, you had said that there were no incidents on the solids and handling operation, and that the contract will expire on August 1st, 2025. Now, will that, at the time of that expiration, will you renew it? And is that under warranty?
The current contract will have to be renewed. We've already done it will actually have to be put back out for bid, actually. It's already been renewed 2 years consecutive for the current contract, which was the limit for that original RFP. So a new one will have to be sent out for that contract.
Thank you.
Was there a question, Don?
Yes, Kathleen did ask my question, but when would you expect we'd see that proposal, and how much do you expect it to be? Would it be before we go over the budget that we would need to get that RFP out?
We could start looking into that. The problem is that if we get it out before the budget, normally the budget is around February, March,
Mhm.
but the contract wouldn't be going until August. So the way the prices are, we're probably gonna have trouble getting a good number from there. It might be a little bit better to hold a little further out. We know what our solids handling budget has been over the years,
Mhm.
and we can probably should be able to project from that for what we would need to budget.
Okay, and there'd be enough time to send it out to bid and get a competitive,
That's correct.
okay. All right, and my second comment was congratulations on your stewardship, earning the
Thank you.
grant.
We haven't earned it yet, but we should be able to earn it.
Okay.
I want to say
Then I'll hold off.
congrats on the nice pictures in the calendar as well.
Thank you.
Kathleen, do you have something else?
Yeah, what is your complement at the water treatment plant?
I have 6 staff members, 5 operators, and 1 assistant superintendent.
And are they segregated by function, by the work they do, or are they all?
Everybody does the
cross-
same thing, including myself. I'm out there turning wrenches and pumping grease myself.
Oh.
Because every now and then I want to get away from the computer.
I understand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good report. Our town engineer. Wayne,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
thank you, sir.
I'll highlight the 3 things that changed this month. The others you'll notice in my report have just said no change. But if you have questions about them, I'm happy to answer them as well. Kellums Field, work has continued out there as weather has allowed. I just went out and reviewed what they've recently done in the month of January to review and approve an invoice, which I'll do tomorrow. Water Park, you received the initial report that came from Hillis Carnes. I'm sure you have questions about that. Happy to have a conversation about that. And then the water reclamation plant headworks project, which Josh is working on. I'm overseeing that with Macron, helping Josh as we move forward to design that project. Just met with Josh here to look at the invoice for them as well. So those are the 3 main topics that I've worked on in the past month since I've seen you last. Happy to have any questions you have.
Go ahead, Jamie.
First question tied to Kellums. Do we just kind of like have a target date of when that might be completed? I do see the football commissioner in the back. I know they're kind of like looking at possible expansion into flag. I imagine that they would be interested in that, at least a target date.
Yeah, it's obviously weather dependent, especially this time of year. I would say sometime early spring.
Okay, and then do you want to talk the water report first, or do you want me to?
It's up to you.
Okay, so I had questions with regards to so when I read the report, it kind of validated some of the assumptions that I had. We talked a little bit before this. When I do see in there that it said, a lot of the expectations were tied to maybe the perception that was given to the engineers during their study. And it really talks about demolish and rebuild. So I know this council here is more focused on repair and reopen. So my first question is just tied back to how much of this report is valuable to you and to the town. I assume that we would have to rescope and then probably look at a new report to respond to repair and rebuild versus what's leveraged in here.
So that report is in essence the first step to anything we do over there. So it's knowledge that's good to have. Yes, you're correct. It was tailored completely to complete demolish and rebuild. As we move forward and determine what the scope's going to look like for the renovation, you're right, we may have to go back out and get additional geotech work. We don't know yet. But I think that's good information to have. I think it confirms some things that at least Jay and I have been talking about for a couple of years. And I think it provides insight into the change in the soil conditions out there since the park was built. So I think it was good information to have.
Okay. And then just the next piece would be based off of that with the sentiment of repair and reopen. What are the next steps that we need to do to drive next actions with either them or just us in general?
Jay and I need to go out and figure out what our scope looks like for that renovation and then come back to you guys with an action plan.
All right. Thank you.
So I just want to make it clear, there's nothing in the study that you see that says we cannot reopen it as is. Well, not as is, but with repairs.
That study doesn't really talk about that. That study really says, if you're going to build something new, here's how you do it.
Right.
Here's where the harder materials are that you might be able to use to support something. Don't expect to support anything on top 43 feet is what it basically says. But down at 43 feet, there is some supporting layers. It's really just a base information that, depending upon what we design and what we decide to build, at least we have a chance at not going to 95 or 100 feet, which they went to for the first part. And that's really what it says.
But from talking to Jay, it sounds like we have some ideas to where we can repair it and also accomplish longevity of the park. Is that right?
Yeah, as we get into our assessment to try to determine what it takes to repair it and renovate it and make it safe, we'll have more information for you.
But we're definitely not opening it this year. So I think that's something that we should also work on a statement. I think Smealy and I talked about that. Okay. That's it for me.
So I imagine you said you need another report,
Possibly.
possibly. How long do you imagine the assessment that you're going to do to evaluate the other option might take?
We're going to take it one step at a time and figure out what needs to be done to make it safe. And then figure out what we want to do to renovate it. I would tell you it's going to be a month or two to come back and give you a full assessment and a plan of what we need to do there. But we'll get working on it.
So it'll be about a month or two before we know that there even is that alternative possibility. Is that correct?
My typical engineer answer to that is I can design anything. I can make anything stand up. Doesn't matter how much money you want to spend.
Okay. All right. Where there's a will, there's a way in
You got it.
engineering. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Sure.
Go ahead.
But then it will be up to us as a council because that number might come back as more than it costs to demolish and rebuild. It's maybe not, probably not, but there's always that potential. So, okay. I do have one other question, not related to this report or the water park. And it's not on the agenda anywhere else. So I think this is the place for it. Richfield Station. You have, I know we went over this the last time a little bit, but again, can you tell me when that meeting was that's listed here on the report?
I believe that was July of 24.
And
I can go back and confirm. It feels like
so
when it was.
there's no due date for a response here from the developer or anything like that? I mean, are we realistically expecting a response?
I have no idea. Again, I'm in a supporting role here. I'm happy to answer questions about my role, but I'm not dealing with the developer directly. That would be in the prior administration, that was the town administrator's job
Okay.
to communicate directly.
So I know that there's a will on this council to take care of the developer issues that are happening at Richfield Station and have been happening for 13 years or more. Can we maybe put that on the next agenda as?
Yeah, or maybe in one of our upcoming meetings, not a council meeting, we can discuss that and figure out what I think both of you can probably help a large amount in that regard. And perhaps we can hit that in a staff meeting and then we'll keep you up to date.
Okay. And at the risk of repeating myself from previous meetings, I'm ready for drastic action at this point, and I think a lot of other people are too. We've got town residents there that need service, that are living on rough paved roads and utilities sticking out of the road for 13 plus years. At this point, whatever the town has to do to get the developer out and take it over, or, I really don't have any confidence at all that we'll be able to force them to do anything. Looking into a bond, pulling a bond would be good, but I think we really need to lean into some action with this.
And even though she is not here, our town attorney is listening into the live stream of this meeting, so she is hearing this as well. So she is out of the country at the moment, but when she returns, we will get with her as well.
Thank you.
Let me make a note. Okay.
Can I just comment that?
Yes, go ahead.
I would be interested in having a closed session with the attorney about the Richfield Station developer issues for a full appraisal, and the capital connection issues. Right now, I don't know if any other council members have information about this, but I do not. So I would be interested in learning about those issues.
Right. And she's only recently come on board. She has been away for 6 years, so we've got to get her up to speed before that makes a lot of sense to spend our time there too. But yes, I agree that we need to move forward on this. There's no question we need to move forward on this.
Thank you.
I'm
Yes, go
sorry, I
ahead,
had
Jamie.
one follow-up to the question on the what was the start date, the start and end date of their assessment? And then how much did we pay for that? Do you know off the top of your head? Just rough estimates?
I don't know the cost for that. I can get back to you on that. This assessment was completed. Their borings were done on June 20th, 2024. We received the report last week. It was a 1-day or 2-day boring operation, and we got the report last week.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Let's move on to the sheriff's report. We got Sergeant Norton and Sergeant Norton.
Yeah.
That's making it real simple for us, right?
Oh,
Well, welcome.
thank you. See, we only had to make a few arrests in December. It was pretty quiet. A couple DUI arrests, a shoplifter, and a simple assault arrest. So it was a pretty good month. December, nice and quiet. So I don't know if you have any questions, but
Council,
pretty standard.
go ahead,
I
Eric.
have a question. I read your report, and I would love some details about Kellums Field attempted theft of gravel.
Yeah. So I was sitting out there December 23rd, and I don't know if you noticed, there's an excavator in the back corner of Kellums Field by the football field. And a guy rolled up in a pickup truck and pulled out a shovel and just started throwing gravel in the back of his truck. And I said, that doesn't look like a contractor's vehicle. So I went over and I said, hey, does this gravel belong to you? And he said, no, I just got some potholes in my driveway and I just thought I would help myself. So, so we had him unload the gravel and we got his information. We took a report, and then the next week I caught up with the owner, the contractor, told him what happened, and he said, we were just going to push that rock into a hole. So he said, so I don't want to have the guy charged. So we won't be charging him, but.
He was doing him a favor.
So he didn't seem to, the contractor didn't seem to be too upset about
We
it.
can call him back and let him know he can have the gravel.
I guess we could have, but I think it's all pushed into a hole over there now. I think it's gone.
Were you in a marked cruiser? Could he visibly see you?
I'm driving a Tahoe. A lot of people, probably 3 out of 4 people would recognize that as a patrol car, but it's not.
But it's not
technically
marked.
Correct.
I understand.
So but you know what else was funny about it? We have a spare car. We call it the ghost car. It's just the empty one, the unoccupied one we move around. It was sitting right there, and that's a marked patrol car, and he was right next to it loading that gravel up. So kind of funny, but anyway, that's it.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Sergeant.
All right, thank you.
Thank you both for being here. All right, next we have the North Beach Volunteer Fire Department. Is there anybody here from the fire department to make a report? We have their printed report in your packet that lists the number of calls and so forth. Is there anybody on the council that has any questions that we want relayed to the fire department? All right. Next is the mayor's report. I have a long list here. But the adjustment to the water and sewer rates is something that is basically on hold right now. We did not have enough time to do the study that we wanted to do before the billing goes out for the next quarter. So unfortunately, it's going to go out at the rate that the previous one went out. And there'll be a hue and cry about that, I'm sure. But we have just been inundated trying to work our way through issues, and this was one that we have not had the opportunity to work through the rates, and it doesn't help that our treasurer is on maternity leave. And so unfortunately, I'm announcing that the next water and sewer bill that you get is going to be at the same rate that the last one was. Nobody is more disappointed about that than I am. But that's just that's the facts. You heard a fair bit tonight about the water park. And so I think you understand, I think we're in agreement about the direction that we want to take. And I think hopefully everybody understands what that direction is, which is to rebuild the park. And again, that's another one that's disappointing but once we got into office, because we really were not given any information before we got into office, we learned that it's just not feasible to consider getting it open this year. And I think I spoke about this at our previous meeting, but among other things, there's a lot of concrete work that needs to be done, and it can't be done in the cold weather, and therefore that pushes it out, and it just is not feasible to consider opening it this year. So it looks like, but our target is to open it a year from this spring. We did have a training session this past Saturday that was arranged with the Maryland Municipal League, and we had all of the council members were there, and I'm grateful for your participation. I hope that you found that it was valuable to you. Our town administrator was there, and it was Samelia, and the presenters were Tom Reynolds from Maryland Municipal League and Stacy Spraggins, I think it is, was her name. Tom has been there for a long time, and when I served as president of the league, I actually traveled a lot of the state with Tom, going to different municipalities and regional meetings and so forth. The best thing that came out of that session, as far as I'm concerned, is what we did at the end, where we had all of the pieces of paper on the board, and every council member had the council members identified things that they wanted to see get done during this term. And so each thing had a separate big piece of paper. And then, and I didn't know they were going to do this, but then they gave us red, yellow, and green, sort of, I mean, it was off color a little bit, but red, yellow, and green Post-it notes. And you had, I think there was 5 or 6 given of each color to each member of the council and myself and Samelia. And we went around with all of those things. They were lined up on the wall right over here with all of the topics. And if you thought it was a top priority, you put green on it. Medium, you put yellow. If you said, I don't want to fool with this, you put red on it. And by doing that, we came out with 2 of them that were solid green, and that was restore the water park and adjust the water, get the water and sewer rates under control. And so that was a great consensus building for this council, and I am so grateful that all of you were able to make it. And I know some of you changed plans that you had to be here. Thank you, Eric. And it was time well spent. So I wanted to share that with you, that this council is already really working together, and everybody had the opportunity to express themselves. And so I'm just very, very encouraged by what's going on here. We have a new zoning administrator, and she is here. Sarah Franklin, would you please come to the microphone? Sarah also wears another hat besides being the zoning administrator for Chesapeake Beach. She happens to be the mayor of Upper Marlboro. So welcome, Sarah, and thank you. You could tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about how come you're particularly qualified to be a zoning administrator. I know the reason for that.
So I'm Sarah Franklin. I have been working as your town planner for a little over a year now with Planning Commission. So I know a few of you through that. And I am grateful to be your zoning administrator and looking forward to work with you on that. Actually came back to work. I've actually worked in Chesapeake Beach before when I was much, much younger. I worked with Chris Jakubiak, who was your town planner for many, many years. And when he moved to Annapolis, the opportunity came up for me to be able to work for you again, and I was very happy to take it. So I hope that you will be happy with my work and you will ask me any questions if you have them. So,
Welcome.
thank you.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're here. This role had been filled by the former town administrator. And so when she left the vacancy. And I did reach out to Chris, who was I had brought on board to be the zoning administrator. It's been a long time ago. It's probably been 15 years ago. And you remember Chris. And he suggested that I reach out to Sarah. And so I just thought that this makes really good sense. So I'm glad you're here, and I'm sure the citizens of the town are going to be happy to work with you.
Great.
Thank you. Any questions for Sarah?
I just have a comment. I've had the opportunity to work with Sarah as the town planner when I was the chair of the Planning and Zoning, and you'll find her to be the consummate professional. She knows her subject very well, and she's prepared. She offers any type of insight that you might want to know, the background, the history of whatever the issue is, and presents a written report as well. So I think it's a great selection, and I'm very happy for you. And I just have one question. It's not about candy. I just wanted to ask you, as zoning administrator versus the town planner, do you think that will facilitate for you the permitting process?
Mhm. So there will be a little bit of an adjustment as staff and I figure out what the best way to work together through the town administrator is. But it will just be me signing that final document rather than the town administrator. So I'm not concerned about it.
Yes. Thank you.
Amy?
Yeah, I won't bore everybody with a whole bunch of questions. I would love to definitely introduce myself and talk with you afterwards and maybe give some examples. I would just ask, as we look at reevaluating all of our processes, that we just always remind like how to get to yes while staying in line with the code to support our residents. I think that was kind of forgotten in the last 8 years, and I would love and appreciate getting to that.
I do always try to help them get to yes within the code as best as possible. Sometimes you can't get there, but I do my best.
It's more on the, I don't mean to belabor this, but more on the, when we do tell them no, helping them figure out how to resolve that. Like, I think there's a gap there.
Yeah, I've been doing that. So
Eric?
I have a question on this topic. It's not necessarily directly for you. Sorry about that.
that's okay.
More for Bruce and Samelia. The zoning administrator, is that a paid position?
The contract position.
Okay. So do we need to do a budget amendment?
No, it's covered.
Okay.
We have the fund. Any other questions? Yes, go ahead. Lynn.
Yeah, I'd just like to comment and double down on what Kathleen said. I have experience with Sarah and she's very thorough. And her reports are very thorough. And so I'm happy to have you, and whatever we can do to streamline the zoning administration process in a way that you feel comfortable, and also we feel comfortable that residents aren't getting held up in the permit process. Just please send us one of your very thorough lists and we'll take a look at it.
That's great.
Thank you.
How long have you been mayor at Upper Marlboro?
This is I'm going into my 4th year.
Yeah, okay. I lived there for 6 months before I moved here.
It's a great place to live.
So is Chesapeake Beach.
That's true.
Any other questions for Sarah? Well, thank you very much for being here. And if you'll hang around and let the individuals talk to you afterwards, I'd appreciate that.
Happy to.
Thank you. Next item I have on my bullet list here is that just within this week, I participated in the wastewater treatment plant partner meeting that was held this week. And so that was, we had folks here from North Beach. Do we have anybody from Anne Arundel County? They were online. They were on phone. So the partners are Calvert County, Anne Arundel County, Calvert County for the Windy Hills School set up, Anne Arundel County for Rosehaven, and then North Beach and Chesapeake Beach. North Beach and Chesapeake Beach are owners. The others are partners. And so I had the opportunity to sit in on that meeting, and Samelia organized that, and I think it went great. It was a good discussion and open discussion, and people spoke freely. And I think that there's been some friction between the municipalities, and I believe that we're going to put every bit of that to bed, and we're just going to work as true partners and run this plant. And so I feel really good about that. Was there anything you wanted to add, or Josh, you wanted to add? Okay. And then the last thing I had on my list of things is, I think I already mentioned that I on the first big snow, I did ride on the snowplow with the town crew. And I did that years ago. Jay can tell you that I did that many, many years ago. And I always find that to be very interesting, but I commend the Public Works crew for the work that they did, and our town roads were cleared quicker and better than the state roads by far. And I believe that is normal here in Chesapeake Beach. That is just the pride that they take in their work, and the care and the craft that they bring to that task. And so if you've never ridden on the snowplow, council members, you probably could hitch a ride if you wanted to.
Right on the front.
Yeah.
No, we're not tying you on the front. We're not going to tie you on the front. All right, next page. Okay, time for the reports of officers, boards, and committees. Planning and Zoning Commission. Cindy? Thank you for being here.
Thank you,
And
Mayor
nice to
Wall.
meet you.
Well, thank you. Nice to meet you all. And I wanted to just congratulate everybody for getting the new positions that you all have now. And it's going to be a great year, I know. I think we're all going to work well together. It's going to be great. I just wanted to share with you a little bit about my commission. We have 7 commissioners that are outstanding. We have Larry Brown, Kelly Hahn, Mary Sue Greisman, Jan Rudke, Chris Smith, Rachel Larson Weaver, and of course myself. And they're all extremely dedicated, committed people, and they really want to do the best thing for the town. So they do their research, and of course, having our wonderful new zoning administrator, planner, Miss Sarah Franklin, we are delighted. I'm so glad now you have one more role to take, but you know, we are now on, I will tell you, we are now on a new code item, which is signage, which is 290-22. And right now, our current code, which is from 2011, has about 3 pages of material. She comes back with her agenda for us for next week, which is about 30 pages of material. She does her research. She's showing us who's in violation and all the different things that we need to know in order to come to some deliberations and I think make some good conclusions for you all. And hopefully by April, we're going to send through a draft code so that you can make a decision yourselves to finalize new code on signage. Of course, we look at it for a lot of different ways. We look at signage for on the basis of what the businesses need, what the residents want, and of course, what is good for the town. So we come through it with a lot of different ways, and hopefully we'll all make the right decision. And then you can evaluate what we've chosen for you, or we've decided for you, and then you make the final decision. Lucky you guys. But that's what we're currently working on. And after that, I think we're going to be working on coastal commission issues. So we'll be going into what our new Coastal Resiliency Commission has come up with on their report, and we're going to look at that. So we've got a pretty busy year already, and if any of you have any other ideas for agenda items or whatnot, please let Mr. Wall know, and then you can, of course, contact me, and we can put it on our agenda and continue on. And of course, I'm sure Ms. Franklin will make some suggestions as well. So we've got a pretty full year as it looks right now. But any questions? No?
I just have a comment. Congratulations to you on
Oh,
your
yes.
chairmanship
Oh,
of
yes,
the
thank you.
Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you.
You serve us very well, and your knowledge and your research and your work certainly on whatever issue is before the commission is very obvious and evident. And thank you for tackling these important issues in regards for specifically for the signage. There's only 3 pages, and a lot of that is probably dated. It doesn't even include those new floaty signs that we
Yes.
all
A
see.
lot of
But
new kinds of signage since those days. So yes, we've got a lot to actually decide what it is the town is really going to want for our cute little coastal arena here. So it's going to be an interesting 3 months that we're going to be spending on this item. So thank you.
great
And-
leadership.
And
by
we're
you.
going to actually miss both of our commissioners who were outstanding commissioners as well. So I'm just glad you're in a better place here. This is great. We thank you for doing the big job here. And we're grateful that you have taken this one on as well. So thank you for that. Anyway.
Anybody else have any questions or comment?
And then, then after this, I will be probably sending you in a written report so that every meeting
That'd be
you will
great.
at least get a written report from me to hear what's been going
That
on.
would be fantastic.
So, yeah. So if y'all need to make if you need to contact me, I'm sure you can get my contact information from Madam Clerk over here, or, you know, most of you know me anyway, so just, y'all know where I live.
Has a question or comment?
Yes,
Oh, I just had a comment.
thanks.
You know, I have some agenda items that
I
need
know
to be
you
dug
do.
back up, so
I'm
I
sure
will be
you do.
sending them your way.
And please do. We're ready for them. You know that, Lori, so anytime. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Anything else?
Again, it's not really directed to you, and I just want to follow this up real quick. I'm just interested because, you know, like you said, the town didn't have the position of a zoning administrator before, but, so what fund is the contract paid out of?
To be honest with you, it's hourly and it is not a huge amount of money. And so it'll fall within our current budget without a problem. Salaries and wages, it's not a huge amount of money.
Okay.
Okay.
I just want to make sure because the charter says that, you know, to allocate funds, they have to be budgeted for, and they probably weren't
The
budgeted for.
previous zoning administrator was Holly Wall. Okay, and so there was money allocated for that already, a lot of money,
Okay.
and I'm confident that there's more than enough to compensate. Franklin,
Okay, thanks.
anybody else? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your coming and speaking with us. Okay, next item listed here is report of officers, boards, and committees. The Board of Appeals had a continuation of the Rod and Reel case, 2023-03, and it was held yesterday. And I don't know that we have any sort of a report. Sharon, do we have anything? Okay, so they've closed the public hearing and they're going into deliberation. So that's the status of that. That's been ongoing for over a year, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Next, Chesapeake Beach Oyster Cultivation Society. Sue Alexander, are you Sue? You're Sue, right? Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. What's going on?
Not much. It's winter time and I'm here for both Seabox and Green Team, so it's good you have those on the agenda at the same time.
Good job,
We're
good job.
we're pretty quiet during the winter. The only thing I will say, next Wednesday, you're all invited. We're having a happy hour at 1936, Wednesday at 5:30, in conjunction with the Coastal Conservation Association. They want to start getting more involved in Calvert County. They're in St. Mary's and they're in Arundel. And so we've worked with them on a number of projects. They're the people that do the reef ball builds, the concrete ball builds at the elementary schools, and we support them. So we're all getting together for a happy hour on Wednesday. So you can join us if you'd like.
What time did you say that was?
5:30.
5:30?
Yep.
Oh, I saw that.
Other than that, we don't have too much going on. It's been pretty quiet.
Sure, this time of year.
Yeah, this time of year, both of those committees, there's not much going on.
Right. Well, thank you for being here. Anybody got any
Anybody?
questions?
Anything? I don't know. I'll have to check.
Well, thank you. We have Kellam's Revitalization Committee listed here, but I don't believe there's any report. We need to, we have somebody that,
I don't have a report, but I do have some comments about this. I do have, I reached out to former council member Morris, Greg
Okay,
Morris,
yeah.
who was at one point running this committee under the previous administration. And he was able to forward me a bunch of information about what they had planned and accomplished. There's design drawings and a bunch of documents. And I did reach out to Jamie, who I understand will lead up the commission with this council. Is that correct?
Well, so the purpose of putting these on here was to start talking committee assignments so we can start moving on these committees and they don't get forgotten about. But yes, because of my affiliation with the Beach Buccaneers and having just close ties with what's going on back there, definitely would like to jump into the Kellam seat. I am tracking a lot of the design drawings. I remember the survey that came out about what do we want to do with it. So yeah, so I think like overall the goal here was hopefully to start assigning people to start working these moving forward.
And for Kellam's, I'm working with the Northern Calvert Little League to get them using the field for practices as well. I believe they're sending the youth sports agreement next week.
Jamie, we're assigning you to the Kellums?
Yeah, so the goal here was then to just kind of walk through each one of these. We have them kind of predetermined based off of, I just reached out to everybody who has shown an expression and a desire. I mean, I can read them out loud if that'd be helpful if
Yeah.
who's done it.
I'm sorry, I didn't have that in my notes. I apologize.
No, you're good. So looking at the green team, Kathleen had volunteered to step up and partner with them and drive that initiative forward. I would take on Kellums, opioid abuse. Anthony would be charging that one. Walkability committee. Lori said she was interested in that one, and that one, just so everybody tracking, was talking not just Chesapeake Village, but anything we were looking at walkability, whether it's the fish in the pavement or the Cox Road sidewalks, all the different avenues of that. Water park, John and his kids have drawn up like 40 different versions of that. So they're excited for that. And then Eric had talked about starting a new committee focused on some charity events. I don't think there's like an official name, but like some sort of a charity committee, I think is what you had said.
Yeah, I can make a comment on that. I'm interested in specifically starting out with like a 5K run walk with the town, and we could do like a rotating charity every year. Say 1 year we do the fire department, 1 year we could fund the opium committee, or 1 year we might be able to do a college scholarship for some town kids, things like that.
Sounds good. Great.
So we'll probably be looking for volunteers for those committees. I've already had people reach out to me that they were interested from the public. So if you're interested in joining a committee, let one of us know.
Yeah, you could even hang around once we're done, and that's only going to be in a few minutes, and you could come and speak to the respective people on the committees if you'd like to volunteer. That would be great. Okay, moving along, unfinished business, the tennis courts, the final MOU review, and Laurie, do you want to take that away?
Sure. Yeah, there's been a lot of work done on this week. Thank you, Samelia, for taking the staff lead on this. And thank you, Anthony, for meeting and helping us get to an MOU that we could present to Samelia to take further. So what we did was we tried to remove as many obstacles as we could to getting to a place where we can construct the tennis courts. And Anthony and I went over the MOU and discussed it. Some of the things that we did was we are going to be asking the Board of Education for a timeline of when they're going to actually put out an RFP and construct the tennis courts. Another thing that we addressed and that staff is addressing is the liability. And there might not be any way around the issue that there needs to be a separation between the school day and when residents can use it. And so we are going to continue to work that issue while making sure that we move forward and construct courts. So I think today, and Samelia, correct anything that's wrong, today Samelia went over an MOU, which is now an agreement that's been drafted with the town attorney, who has ensured that we're not going to be overly liable for things from our perspective. And then tomorrow, Samelia is going to meet with the Board of Education counterparts, and they're going to massage it further and make sure that there's some mutual agreement. The hope is that Councilman Green and I can go to Dr. Townsell, and at that point, we would have something that that we have signed and that he can sign. And then we would discuss how we can collaborate on construction, making sure that we get the things that we need on the tennis courts. For instance, like the gates in the right place, walkways from the parking lot, which is something that the public has mentioned. There's no way to get from the parking lot to the tennis courts. things of that nature. But the bottom line is that we are putting this in a place that we can get construction moving forward as soon as possible. And the hope is that they're open for use as they had been previously. Hopefully, I'm not going to say a date, but the bottom line is we're moving forward and we're trying to put timelines and deadlines on it
As soon as possible.
as soon as possible.
Great, thank you for that. Anybody have any questions on that regard, in that regard? Okay. Okay, under new business, we had 2 items listed here, but I think that we have some issues with this because we don't actually have all of the information that we need. Smelia, do you want to take the lead on this, please?
Yeah, so the 2 new business items, the first has to do with the water park. And we are trying to make sure that we're able to move the project forward in a timely manner. The way that you do that typically is through the mayor's spending limit. And right now they're set at $10,000. What we are working through right now is to figure out once Wayne and Jay are able to do their assessments, they'll be able to tell us what the next steps are. There may be situations where we would need to spend money on basic things that are more than $10,000. So all of this has to work in lockstep, but that's where we are. I had a great conversation, however, earlier today with the town treasurer, and there are funds that are allocated. There are grant funds. I was able to see the legislation which they came from. And so there are funds there that are meant for improvement of the water park as long as it's going to result in revenue of some sort, right? And so there are funds allocated there for construction work. So we're not worried about having the funds to support that work. We just want to make sure that the mayor has the spending authority to help the project move forward in a timely manner. So that's the first. And then the second has to do with having a third-party auditor come in to evaluate the water and sewer rates. And ultimately, what needs to happen there is we'll have to start meeting with auditors to figure out what the expected amount is going to be. Once we find out what that amount will be, we'll then be able to decide how we move forward with that. So if it's over that $10,000, we would likely have to move into a bid process. These would be sealed bids. And so that is a whole procurement thing that we would have to work through. But ultimately, it's this is here to make sure that the town council is aligned on moving forward in that direction. But there's not any official vote that's happening right now. This is just how we're working to address this issue.
Thank you.
Got something for Jay. So the $10,000, do you think, is that enough to get you started on the water park?
It is, and I'm taking the path, which seems to be the will of everyone, rebuild versus, renovate versus rebuild. And so until we run into a brick wall or no, as we go forward, me and Wayne have been discussing, like one thing, for example, we have to check the top of some of these piles, which we didn't want to tear apart and drive the existing part because it could create damage. So strategically, when we go in surgically and look at one of these piles, well, I know where to go because at the same time, I'm going to solve some plumbing issues I know exist there. There's a lot of stuff I'm going to rely on Wayne as an engineer to say yes or no, it's safe, the other. But I have a lot of institutional knowledge, a lot of things that have failed that are not safety issues. But while we're looking at this, I want to, if we're going to go in there and look at it, we are going to have access to fix it from now on. Some of these areas that we're purposely going to look at, I've never been to. I know there's problems. So instead of just going in there, we have to leapfrog all of this dirt, if you will. There's nowhere to get it out. We're going to make a new access panel. We're going to remove it and make that a catwalk. So from now on, we can get to those structures. Not only safe, will save us money in the future. We're not talking about a lot of money, but I don't see any sense in doing this investigative work going there without having the resources in place to make it accessible while we're there and safe. So minimal money, I think we can accomplish that because we need to start now on some of these things. Moving forward, we'll come back to the council with what we've done, progress, keep you updated with the public. And then if we run into something substantial that we need to move forward, we'll have to come to the council and say, this is what we need and this is why. But at this point, I think we can get going with 10,000. I know a year sounds like a long time. It's not. And if we're going to do investigative work, we're going to coordinate it to where it's a benefit besides the investigation. If we're going to get to somewhere, I'm going to make sure we have the ability to get back there. So I think the long answer was yes.
Yeah, I just want to make sure the public knows that like we're not just sitting on our hands. We're
Yeah,
starting.
I have some action items that I think is going to be cost effective to look at these areas and make assessments while we're there, of course, to make sure we can move forward, but also while we're there, fix what I know is already wrong. And there's a lot wrong, but if we're going to go there, let's fix it. And I think we can do that and keep moving forward. As we all know, summer will be here before we know it, and a year sounds like a long time, but it's really not.
So should we, as a council, work on getting more to increase that 10,000 eventually, or?
I would move forward if that's a process, yes, because we're going to come back with some project. May even have to go out to bid, which is a process. But if we have contractors that can do it under our bid process, I want to get them aligned because their schedule will start booking soon. We need to get them on board, aligned once the weather breaks to perform what we need them to do. And that could start now, the process, whatever it takes.
Just to be certain, when we're talking about 10,000, is that also adding in the grant money that Samaya just told us about? Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to make a couple comments because it might clear some stuff up. I think the way this is being talked about right now may be a little confusing for everybody. But with the $10,000, what the charter says is that the mayor can spend, as long as the money is in the budget, the mayor can spend up to $10,000 without council approval, can just spend it.
Right.
It's not a $10,000 cap, and it's $10,000 per item. It's not a $10,000, pot, a whole pie. It's just, he can spend $10,000 on any individual item without council approval. If there's a contract that's greater than $10,000, it just needs to come to the council. We vote on it and approve it. It can still happen. It's not a cap of any sort. And again, it's just per item. So, if you have some concrete work that needs to be done that's $9,000, and you also have some other work, some plumbing work that's another $9,000, that can all happen at the same time. They're two different, they would be two different trades, two different contracts.
Correct.
Right.
I just want to make sure that's clear for everybody.
That part is
everybody
clear,
else.
but my question is about the grant that she just spoke of. That was money that was allotted for the water park as well. Do we know exactly what that amount is, or?
I do. It's $600,000.
Okay.
And the grant money came from DGS, so the State Department of General Services, and it's a line item in their budget.
How'd that feel, Jay?
We have to use that by
Like
a
that?
certain
Yeah.
deadline.
There's
That's a good
no
start.
there's no budget period on that money. However, it is tied to the state, which means that it would be better to use it sooner than later.
Exactly. So we may definitely factor that in with these decisions we're making. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other
Thanks for-
questions or comments here? Yes, Jamie?
No, I would just comment, and thank you for the clarification on
I
that.
appreciate that, too.
Because and Josh, this ties back to my question earlier about the operation cost, right? So I don't think it's fair for us to assume that you can go back and do all this math and figure out like every aspect of where we should have a non-biased report that we can share with the town and the council and make decisions on water and sewer rates with, I know you're an expert in your field, but I just don't think it needs to be on your shoulders for that.
All right.
Yeah, and I appreciate the approach. This is, and I appreciate watching your gears turn and knowing that you're on top of it. So thank you.
Just there's a lot, 20 years of error. There's a lot of stuff in my head. We'd be here all night, but believe me, and nothing against an engineer or anything like that. What we can do, we can be the GC in control we can do a lot cheaper than a lot of studies. And some of that I 100% know because I fixed it and been there. Some of it I'm going to lean on Wayne. So, you know, when you start throwing out numbers, 9.8 million, 7, those are horrendous numbers. And you would think 100,000 is nothing. Well, I don't. 100,000 is a lot of money. If we can do this right, longevity and do it right one time, that's my goal. And I don't look just because the budget's whatever. Let's see what it takes. Let's take control and do it as efficiently, safely, and quickly as we can. And I think we have all the players to do that without relying on other entities, which is a plus.
Now, speaking to that, you're still working on budget numbers for all the stuff that needs to be done.
Correct. And they're going to be rough at the beginning as we get dialed in, but we're going to start somewhere. And I don't want to come with inaccurate numbers, but I want to have something you can tangibly look at versus rebuild and retrofit.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Let's move on to the next item. Right, it's time.
Can I add,
Yes,
just
you
ask one
can.
question, for Jamie? Economic development and coastal resiliency, are those committees, ones that we talked about, having somebody take over? Is economic development still its own separate committee? Because I believe that does, Taste of Beaches.
Yeah, I think those are just other committees that we need internally trying to figure out who is interested in taking them on, or would we maybe merge them with something else to, you know, add them, like merge them together or something.
I want
But
to keep
me
that
and-
on the radar to make
But
sure
me
we
and
don't
you can
miss
figure that
anything.
out together later.
But Larry
Right.
retired from that.
I guess.
I know he was running the
I was
economic.
Larry, I would have retired from it.
Yeah, he was great.
Okay, let's move on to public comment. Anybody have anything they want to say? Please come forward. Come on, Teresa, come up. Come to the microphone, please. Well, that's fine.
About Richfield Station, you said last July they were updating their sureties. It said in your report that they were looking at updating their surety bonds
We
so
met,
that they could go ahead and maybe start the work.
we met with them in the field because they had it in hopes and plans to move forward with a new section. We met with them to say, before you go to the new section, here's the things we have, need you to fix in the old section. That's we heard from.
But that's since, do you know if they did update their sureties for the new one? And do they have a current surety bond, completion bond?
I don't know, but we can find out. That was the
Yeah,
town administrator.
that would be really important because I think you might be able to put some pressure on them to complete what's going on over there. I don't know what's going on over there, but I've read about it for a year or more. So I'm just kind of, I'm an insurance person, so I'm just kind of have that.
I'm glad you asked that question, Teresa. I mean, this is helpful for me too. So Wayne, you and I need to talk about this at the next opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Teresa. Anybody else? Public comment? Well then, is there a motion for adjournment?
Not yet. I want to do one thing before we go.
Okay,
Good. It's gonna be real quick. I just want to take a moment to lament the passing of Doris Carmack Spencer.
oh my gosh, yes.
Former Chesapeake Beach town resident, very vocal and passionate about the town and its people. She was a member of the Calvert County Minority Business Group, president of the Alexandria chapter of the NAACP, former president of the Southern Maryland Minority Chamber of Commerce, and the co-founder of Concerned Black Women. And on behalf of the mayor and the council, we wanted to send condolences to her family and loved ones.
Absolutely, and I will share with you that she was my neighbor in Chesapeake Station. She served on, as recently as a year ago, she was on the board of directors of our homeowners association, and which I'm still the president of. And I think she had a fall or something in her home, and she was in her 80s. And had to move in with a family member, but I considered her to be a very dear and very close friend, and I will miss her dearly. And those of you that know her or knew her will understand that, because she was a very special person, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Thank you. I didn't have it on my list,
It's
but
all right.
I certainly had
understand.
it in my mind.
I got your back.
Yeah. Does anybody have anything else before we close the meeting? Is there a motion for adjournment?
A motion to adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye? Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for participating in your municipal government operation. in legislation.